because the book comes with multi-tracks. So when you listen to some multi-tracks closely, you will hear how our friend Aymat Kachina is preparing a tagine and chopping onions like during the solo. So don't use too much compression.
If you learn with tracks that have been recorded by the best people with the best gear in the best rooms in the world, that does not necessarily apply to what you're doing in your jam space.
I tried to impress my client and he had a lot of fun. He's like, whoa, look what Ady is doing. He's like putting 8 mics on the bass.
The more I know the fundamentals and the quote-unquote best practices, rules, whatever, the more I can have fun and be creative and break them if I want to.
How do you balance these crazy ideas you have for recording with basic fundamental things?
Yo, this fridge will bring in more clients than your pool tech.
That's true.
Yeah, because when they are thirsty, they want a cold drink.
This is the Self-Recording Band Podcast, the show where we help you make exciting records on your own, wherever you are, DIY style. Let's go.
Ady Parzentny is back on the Self-Recording Band Podcast for the third time, I think. I thought it was the second time, but I just heard it's actually the third time, which is awesome. There's always something new to talk about with Ady. He was known as the Audio Nomad, which is actually the title of his book that he just released, which we want to talk about as well. And I think the Audio Nomad has kind of settled, at least for now, in Barcelona, Spain. And there's a lot that we can talk about there. His journey has been very exciting to watch, and I've listened to a bunch of other podcasts with him, and I'm very, very excited to have Ady back on the podcast today. So, yeah, we're going to talk about his journey in the past, of course, again, a little bit at least, and what he's covering in his book, Audio Nomad. But then also, we're going to talk about the transition to him working at a studio in Barcelona and, building a life there and what he's up to right now. I can't wait to dive into all of this because I've already heard a couple of things that are really exciting. So without further ado, here is Ady Parzentny for you. Hello, Ady. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, how are you doing? Thank you so much for the kind introduction. So happy to be back.
Yes, so happy to have you again. Our audience loves you, and you've also done a guest workshop for our coaching students in the past, and the episodes did well, so I'm happy to do another one with you. And we're not going to do it by ourselves, just the two of us. There's also my amazing co-host and friend, also from Spain, Manel Espinosa Berenguer. Hello, Manel. Good to have you, as always.
Hello, Benedict. Always happy to be here, and very excited today because we have an amazing guest again.
Yep. In case you don't know us, if you're new to the show, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in, for listening, or watching this on YouTube. My name's Benedict Hein. I'm the host of this show. I am a music producer. I used to be a music producer, now mixing engineer full-time. And I mix out of a studio called Outback Recordings with a little team here. We mix about, 250 to 300 songs per year right now. That's a lot of work. We've been doing that for the past 15 years. And the insights and lessons we learn from all of that, that's what we share on this podcast, so you can make better recordings from your home studios and jam spaces. And Manel, you want to introduce yourself as well to the audience?
Yes, I'm a music producer and mixing engineer from Spain. And as I always say, I really enjoy making great songs and great music with amazing artists. And that's pretty much about it.
Yeah. So if you're already a listener, you know all that. If you're new to the show, welcome again. And so, let's talk to Ady, our guest for the show today. So excited to have you, Ady. Where should we start? Before we dive into the book thing, I think we should give people just a brief overview and introduction. You can go back and listen to episodes 1 and 2 with Ady to get the entire thing, and we don't have to repeat that. But just a few words on your journey as kind of the audio nomad and what you're doing now, where you are now, and all of that, like the short version of that. We'll get into the details.
Absolutely. The long version is in my new book. No, I'm always happy to be here. I love your community, and congratulations to the consistency. So many episodes already. It's always beautiful to be here. So my name is Ady, and since 2017, I'm a music producer. Since 25 years, a musician. And I'm known for traveling the world. I was almost 5 years in a van and recorded bands in places where they didn't have the opportunity to record. And this brought us, for example, for 2 years to Morocco, where we lived in the Sahara and produced over 120 songs. And now I'm settled. I'm living in Barcelona, and it's a big dream of mine that came true. Since I'm 13, I said I want to move to Spain, and I want to learn the language and be part of this culture. And it just happened since this January, I'm living here and work in a studio. I work as a freelancer here, and I couldn't be more happy. And I saw also Manel, and we went to concerts together and already hooked up.
Oh yeah, really? You guys met?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. That's fantastic. Great to hear. Yeah, thank you for that quick summary of what happened. Manel, did you tell me that you guys met up?
Yeah, we sent you a picture or a video.
You sent
me
a picture.
selfies. Yeah,
but that's been a while ago. That's not been. It sounded like it was like last week or something. It's been a while ago, right?
Yeah, a couple of months.
Yeah, I remember
sure,
that.
but...
You sent me the picture. Yeah. That's great. Yeah, I'm just sometimes my brain doesn't work properly when there's a lot of people sending me things. But I remember the picture now. Yeah, so cool. So, how and why the move to Barcelona and the decision in general to just settle and not be traveling all the time? Because in the past, on the last episodes, we were talking about, you and your van traveling to remote places and all that. And it seemed that this was like your life and what you wanted to do. And where did this decision come from that you want to work at a studio, live in a sort of place somewhere and settle like that?
That's a really good question. One thing is, during the van life, sometimes we always rented the apartment, because it's easier to make music, set up a quick studio. So we lived also in apartments, and I also worked in commercial studios during this time. So it was never like that I don't like the commercial studio. I love all this stuff and all the compressors and microphones, and it's incredible. So a lot of things changed in my life since last year. From breakup with my life partner, we were 13 years together, which led moving to Germany after 13 years. So I lived in my hometown again, and very quickly understood, maybe not, maybe not the best decision. And I just needed a vacation, like a real vacation, where I don't work, or that was not work related, a travel that was not work related. And I didn't had it for almost 8 years. And just the first thing was Barcelona. I went there to a friend, a vocalist, Ugneda Niele. We have also a cumbia band together, La Grima de Jaguar. I just crashed her couch, hang out at the beach, and loved it so much. In November, skipping forward now, we opened our music production school for the kids in the Sahara.
Yeah,
which is for free for them.
It was so cool.
Man, it was incredible. Still from the breakup, from all the movement, from everything, I didn't rest it really. And while opening the school, I was still driving 4,500 kilometers through Morocco to have meetings and make new possibilities. I was so exhausted, and my flight back should be to Warsaw. And I said, I will not fly to Warsaw in winter after spending a month in the desert. Like, no way. And I went back to Barcelona. I found a flight for $20 and stayed there another 2 weeks. And from there on, magic happened, and I knew this is the place where I want to be. And it took almost a month, and I moved there.
Wow. That's crazy. You talked about, I heard you talk about this too, with Matt Boudreau on the Working Class Audio podcast. So yeah, shout out to Matt. He's great. So in case you're listening to this, I love the show, and we've both been on there just recently, and you for the second time, I think. And it's I heard you talk about this, and it was fascinating to hear, because so many people, when they move to a different country, a different city, they plan this for months or years, and they go back and forth, and it's like this big deal. And it would be a big deal for me, I guess, if I'm honest. And then hearing you make this decision quickly and be like, yeah, I'm going to move there. And within a month, you're just there, and you find an apartment and you find a job. And from what I've heard, you even found a girlfriend. Yeah. And it's like, how? This shit takes years for most people, you know what I mean?
It does.
And they completely overthink it, and you just do it, go for it, and it just comes together. So
it was crazy. Yeah. No, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you.
No. I'm just asking, how? What is your theory? Because is it what happens to you when you are just open and let things happen? And, or is it pure luck in your case? Was there some kind of proper preparation? Like, what is your theory as to why this worked out so well in such a short amount of time?
I think I trusted my intuition, because sometimes you feel you're in the wrong place. You don't know really what to do, but I felt definitely like something is still off. And because of many past experience, like last year was very hard for me. So I had like a wall around me almost, which I hated. I hate to have a wall. I love to talk with people and just be open, and trust. So things sometimes happen when we are open for it, when we are not busy all the time. And if we don't overthink. And I just trusted my intuition. I know it sounds not like a plan or something that you can write into a book, like, oh, just trust your intuition and see what happens. I was lucky also. So let's go through these points. Like, for example, when I went to Barcelona after the school, I was so overworked and done. I just turned off my phone for a week. I didn't touch the computer. I didn't wanted any screen in front of my face. I just wanted to be a human again. So blindly, with no phone, I just walked through Barcelona, and I was more up in the mountains, in the hills by Park Güell, and went down to the beach. And there was a bench in Barceloneta, and I just sat down and started meditating there and just rest a bit. And I did it every day. It became like a thing I did for a week. Then I took my phone again and made a post. I'm in Barcelona. Now, our dear friends from Olo Audio, I think all of us have now a pair of headphones from them.
Yeah, shout out to Olo. They're gonna love the clips from this show with all three of us wearing these.
Absolutely. So Mattia from marketing, dear friend of mine, he wrote me, there is a studio in Barcelona, Sol de Sans, and Alberto Perez, he's also an endorser, so you should meet. I said, okay, connect us, and I would love to see a studio in Barcelona. I'm ready again. Like, I had a week off, like completely off, literally. I went to the studio, and it was one of the best sounding studios I heard. The energy was incredible. It's really beautiful inside. And they work like with Rosalia, with Snarky Puppy, all these bands are there. They have this live room, and I love the energy of the team. It was something I was really craving for. It was really cool. And but the first day he said, oh my God, I have a mix, and nobody's allowed to hear it because it's some label mix. So can you come tomorrow again? And because I was so in peace, I'm like, yeah, sure. No problem. And take your time, see you tomorrow for lunch. And just walk back with the beach because I had nothing to do. And it took an hour. I sat down by my bench again, meditate, and opened my eyes. And there was this woman sitting and smiling. And I'm like, oh no. 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 And I thought like, okay, just close my eyes again, and maybe she's gone in 10 minutes. And because I was such in peace, and I didn't have the intention to meet anybody.
Yeah.
And after 10 minutes, she was still there, like smiling. And I did like the most reasonable thing that the German can do. If somebody flirts with you, it's like, pack your stuff and run away. And she stopped me. She said, hey, wait.
Really?
Yeah. She's like, hey, wait. Wow. And she gave me a little card. And there was standing abrazo. And abrazo means hug in Spanish, like in English. And I read it and I thought, oh, that's really beautiful. So she gave out these hug cards to people. And we just started talking. And I told her about the mobile travels. And we exchanged numbers. And I sent her our playlist, like the Hit the Road Music Studio playlist with 90 videos and live shows that we recorded around the world. But I sent this playlist to 18 people, even to, I met the owner of Playing for Change that made like a huge project around the world, and nobody responds. So I know like nobody's watching this, because when you see the first video, it's like, what the heck is this? This is incredible. She responded immediately. So we just said, let's meet the same day. And I really connected. It was crazy. We have birthday the same day. We came to Barcelona the same day. We had the breakup with a long-term partner the same day. Now we even released a book together because she edited it. And we became one heart, one soul. Today we had a meeting because we start a new brand called You're Welcome Collective. Okay. Which will be like an umbrella for music. She writes incredibly. Poetry, music, lyrics, and fashion.
Wow, what a story, man.
Yeah, and then it was easy to move to Barcelona. I'm like, okay, that's my place. So, and the apartment, just shortly, like I had 7 days to find the apartment. And 2 days I partied when I moved to Barcelona. I had like an Airbnb. And on the third day, I was searching for apartments. But the first meeting didn't work out. Like I stood in front of the door and they just wrote me the message, oh, it's taken, the person before you took it. So I wrote the Airbnb guy and he said, yeah, I have rooms. So I had something to stay in. And the first apartment was shared with 5 other people. So it wasn't the easiest decision, but at least I had something. Then I had the connection to the studio where I started working in later. And I had my girlfriend, and now I have my own apartment here, and everything is just growing.
What a story! But did you go back to the studio the next day then and start working there? Like, how did that part of the story go?
Yeah, so I came back to the studio. We had lunch together, and we really connected. Like I love Alberto. He's an incredible artist and incredible producer, and incredible mixer. And he said after the lunch, he said, "I have a Roomba band here, like a local Roomba band. Maybe you just want to join the session." And I thought, that I still have goosebumps when I just think about it, having a Barcelona Roomba band there. Like, this is where the music comes from. You know, you can think about like Gypsy Kings and this style. I thought this is fantastic. We spent 6 hours in the studio and I saw how they're making a quick mix, how they set up the microphones, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of joy. And it reminded me of my remote sessions, but inside the killer studio. So we stayed in touch, and they had the second studio inside Sala Apollo, which is one of the biggest concert venues and clubs. So inside was a record studio, and I booked it for my own projects. We had an assistant there, and we also just had a fantastic time creating 4 songs in a day. And there was kind of time pressure, but it was just pure joy. So the assistant started to talk with them, and it took almost 3 months until we had the next meeting, because they're also I just wanted to offer my services. Like, I wanted to offer their studio and my services and wanted to make a deal. And I stayed patient instead of pushing like, oh, they postponed this meeting again, or oh, month after month, we can't see, nothing will happen. I just stayed patient. Once we had the meeting, me and my girlfriend made cookies for the whole team. I went there and he said...
That's a power move. Yeah.
It was just from the heart. There was no intention, you know. We just
no, I know it, but like those are this is that yeah.
But they loved it. Yummy cookies, and then they look at me. They're like, "We check you out since 3 months, and actually our producer for world music just left, and there is a spot open. Welcome to the team."
Wow.
And I started to work like a freelancer. You know, I rented the studio from them, and started to book it out.
Wow. And like, what do you think, again, I'm interested in your theory behind this. What do you think are the reasons for why they ended up offering you this? I mean, being patient, yes, and being just a good human. I mean, you brought not just the cookies, those are the little details, but like, you know, just being who you are. And I think people get the vibe. So I think that's important, of course, being patient. You mentioned that. But other than that, like what did you do for them to think like how did you make yourself valuable to them? Because at the end of the day, they need to trust you. You're still a stranger, kind of. I mean, they've been observing you for a while, but still, you know, it's a trust thing, and they need to know that if they bring you on, it's their name, you know, and their reputation and all that, and you need to be a valuable asset for them. So what do you think was it that convinced them, or what did you do?
I love your questions because they go really deep to show the mechanics behind what happened.
Yeah.
I really, like, one thing that I observed, I'm doing it now for 8 years. So I no longer have this need to prove myself. So when I was younger, if I would be there in the studio 4 years ago, I would run around like, oh, an 1176 from 1982. Fantastic. I love the knobs, you know, and like, I would try to show off in any way to squeeze it in their brain that I am good.
Yeah.
But I think it was really this way of connecting from human to human, be clear about the deal, to talk business in a normal way, like how much does it cost? How are the expectations? What are your ideas? Yeah. To stay respectful with the equipment and clear communication. And this was something. But on the first base, of course, it was also the portfolio.
Yeah.
And I started to recommend them also. Like I made, for example, Instagram videos and tagged them on everything. So it means for them, it's also another door opens in any way through me. And for me, opens the door for them. And this is what we all try for, a win-win for everybody.
Yes.
Which doesn't feel like squeezed or pressured or whatever.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. And I'm asking these questions because I know that in our audience are a lot of people who don't just do this as a hobby. Like many of them are just recording their own music, but even them are interested in how to promote yourself, how to get the word out, And then we have a lot of people in the audience who try to do this as a job or a side hustle or something, And we have some in the coaching community as well. We actually have a business mastermind call every single week with our coaching students who are interested in the business side of things, which we're going to have right after this podcast today, actually.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm asking these questions for those people because it's so cool to hear. Like, if you really think about what you just said there, it means, first of all, you went out of your way before you even got the job. Like, you promoted them, you added value, you made yourself useful and valuable to them before you even got the job. You didn't show off, because if we think about it, you having the skills to produce audio well and to record and mix, that's assumed. Like, if you didn't have that, you wouldn't be even, there would be no point in walking through that door in the first place. So you have the confidence to just make that's assumed that I'm good. Now let's talk about all the other things. And then beyond that is what makes the difference, because there's many other engineers who can also record and mix, but not all of them will just promote the studio without being asked to do that. Not all of them will bring cookies. Not all of them will have, a smile on their face every time they enter a room. It's these small things where you can differentiate yourself from others. And so many people in our industry completely fail to do that. They stop at the skill part, but that is assumed. There's a lot of people who can do that. If you don't have the skills, that part needs to be there anyways. But beyond that, you need to do things. And what you just said there is a beautiful example of that. And somehow you convince them that they can trust you, and that it's also, I think it's not just trust, they also need to know that it's fun working with you. You want to have someone in your studio that you actually want to hang out with,
Exactly.
So, and the artists want to hang out with. So it's all of those things. And it's just, I'm pushing on this so hard because it's so important. At the end of the day, if artists look for studios and collaborators, they want to have a great experience. It's not only about the result. It's not only about the tech stuff. It's about the personal connection and all of that. And so I love hearing these stories. But one thing is still unclear to me, and that is how did you manage to actually book the studio and get people in there? Because you're still in a new town. I don't know how well you were connected with the local scene or whatever, but it's not a cheap thing to do. You have to pay for this really nice studio. Then your rate needs to be on top of that. And then you need to convince people in a new town to come to you to record with you. So how did you do that? Where did you find those bands? And how did that all work in a short amount of time?
That's my favorite part. And I love to share this part on your podcast, because this is something we, especially in the digital era, that we forget. So this is a lesson I learned by watching the documentary from Joe Strummer. It's called The Future is Unwritten. And funny enough, he left also to Spain, but to Andalusia, after the Clash broke up. Then he came back to the UK and started the band Joe Strummer and the Mescalores. So within this 30-minute time frame, you see how he just sold out stadiums. And then a scene where he's handing out flyers on the street and looks into the camera like, yo, come to my show, Joe Strummer and the Mescalores, And he said to the camera something like, yo, you just have to start from the beginning. And if it's handing out flyers and inviting people to your show. And since I'm 13 years old, this is what I'm doing, since I watched this documentary. So here, it wasn't different. I printed 1,000 flyers for $100, for 100 euros. I stood, with my bad Spanish that I acquired during this time, I talked with everybody who just had the instrument on their back. Street musicians, I waited once they finished the song and just talking with them. And I stood by a music store. For example, there's the Alpha Sony store, there are stores in the old town. And whoever came, I just introduced myself. Yo, I'm music producer, new in town. Come and visit my studio. I don't say we have to work together, I'm the best. I said, come visit my studio. This was the first thing. So, because I just had 7 days to book out the studio. It was end of April, and in May I had it already. Part 2, this was something new for me. This was what I did the first time. I put €300 aside and run an advertising inside Barcelona and 70 kilometers around for 2 weeks. So it's around €20 per day with a lead formula, and people could sign up. I had 0 leads. Like I had maybe 20 people who filled out the formula, but nobody became a client. But I had a lot of followers on Instagram. So I followed them back. And within almost 10 days, I wrote over 2,000 messages and just invited people to the studio. I just wanted to invite them. Then we had another engineer there, and he brought all his equipment from the US. Incredible guy. But they set up the studio 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, all the cables. And I'm really impressed that they can do it.
Yeah.
But I brought the fridge. Like I just bought the tiny fridge, and I said, yo, this fridge will bring in more clients than your pool tech. And then
that's true.
Yeah, because when they are thirsty, they want a cold drink. So and I invited people. I had the fridge full always, and I this time I calculated also how much did I spend for snacks, for nuts. I had vegan snacks there. I had chocolate there. I had beers there, alcohol-free beers, energy drinks, Coca-Cola, Aquarius, whatever. So everything was covered, and whoever came for a 1 hour visit, 80% of the people booked.
Yeah.
And the studio was booked out after 10 days. And then again, the studio owner, Alberto, he called me. He's like, this is crazy. What are you doing? How do you do this? And this is despite so before I moved, everybody said, you will never find the flat. When I said I want to work as a producer, no, rates are terrible here, and everybody is just underrating them, and you will never find clients there. And just discern the sound from the noise and just stay focused.
Yeah. And do all those marketing things while being authentically you. Like that's the thing as well. Like it's about putting in a lot of work, but it's also doing it without selling your soul and just being you, because that will connect. But I really want people to hear the details in this story, because so many people think, that posting every once in a while, sending 5 messages, doing a little bit here and a little bit there is enough, but it's not. It's about the consistency, and it is a whole lot of work. It's work. And we're talking, I hope people heard that. We're talking about 1,000 flyers, standing somewhere for hours, handing them out in front of a music store or to street musicians. We're talking 2,000 messages. We're talking inviting, I don't know how many bands to your place and having a conversation with all of them. That's like a whole lot of work. It pays off. And the beauty is not just that it pays off financially with projects that you get booked, but it pays off in that you get to build a lot of relationships, especially the in-person interactions. So there will be more to come from that in the future, and beautiful things you can do with awesome people. So that's great. But I just want people to hear the effort behind this, because that's what it takes. And it's always like that when you are running your own business, be it as a musician, studio, producer, whatever. At the end of the day, it is a business, a small one maybe, but it is one, and it requires work. And if you only look to the top 1% with the Grammys and the platinum records and all that, and you think that they just get work through referrals, don't assume you're the unicorn. Yes, there are people who can do that, but even they get rarer and rarer these days. It's not that there are some of these. I've been talking to many Grammy winners actually now who say there are months where the phone doesn't ring and they panic. So even for them, it's not just happening automatically anymore. You just got to put in the work, and you cannot assume you're a unicorn. You cannot assume you're special. You just got to put yourself out there and not be afraid of that, and actually enjoy it, because you get to meet other people and you get to talk to people, be it online or not. So I really, really love that. And I'm so happy for you that it worked out and that you get to make these connections now and get to make these awesome records. So,
man, thank you so much. It was a lot of effort, but I enjoyed it even, I enjoy being outside and talking with people.
I have a little question here, because for you guys that don't know Ady is a really easygoing, outgoing person, a really authentic guy, and I would say he's a big extrovert who has the ability to talk to strangers about anything. And a lot of people, including Benedict, always say that Ady has a strong skill to connect with people and also connect other people between them, to create this sort of web of, people, basically, right?
Yeah.
So for me, what you explained about what happened to you, it all makes sense because everything clicks. Like there's a spot where you fit in totally, and then you have abilities to like connect with the people in the studio. So it's a perfect match. Like I felt the same with when I started working with Benedict on the podcast and all that. But I have a question, and my question is if you've been like that, like always like that, or is it some sort of process that you've gone through over the years where you've, maybe not on purpose, but you've mastered your communication skills and stuff like that? Because I don't know how I would approach that, because I'm totally the opposite. Like I'm an introvert. I'm not good at, talking to strangers. So I'd like to know your vision on that. Yeah, basically.
I love the question. I love that you mentioned this because way too often, and this is again online, I got the perfect method. Just do it like me, and then wow, yeah. But we have over to simplify it, over 16 personality types that go really complex in this world. So this is my way. When you're extrovert, when you can talk with people, or when you like to talk with people. But of course, there are people who don't like to talk. And for everybody is the right engineer or producer there. Yeah. So I just found all the people, people ran away from me, like, what do you want? So it wasn't a match because they don't like to be approached directly. You know what I mean?
I just want to, I'll let you continue answering the question, of course, but I need to step in here real quick and tell people my favorite quote that I've ever heard from you, because on the podcast with Matt, you said, like, if you are someone who's like grumpy or angry or whatever you said there, like the personality that's not just smiling all the time, and then you see me and I walk in and I'm like smiling and I like, and what did you say? Like, there was something about the weather or the rain where you're like, I'm the kind of guy who's happy about the rain because it's good for the nature and whatever. Like you said I'm gonna make your day hell because you want to, because you like to sit there and complain about the weather and how bad it is or whatever, and then I come in and I'm like, look at the rain, it's beautiful, I love it, it's good for the trees. If you're that kind of person, I'm gonna make your day hell. So yeah, you're right, it's not for everyone.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I would make your day hell. Like when you want to be in this, it's like it would be terrible for people to be with me in the train and like, oh, look at the night. Wow, we have so much. Look here, and you just want to do something else. So this is very important to know that now nobody have to follow Ady method, or because there will be the right method, and there are the right people for you. They're waiting for you. So just to go back to your question.
If you always had that, or if you developed that over time, I think was kind of the question, the extrovert thing.
Look, when I started making music, we had a beautiful community that I'm really grateful for. Like, we were 12 years old and could always go to a rehearsal room with, I would say, older hippie rockers that were jamming out, like space rock. And they said they were like very welcoming. They were happy to see kids making music, so they shared everything they knew. I had a mentor there, Captain Caramello was his nickname, and he showed me all these guitar moves, and I just grew up being a family in music, because this was our space. We could create, and it didn't matter which genre you do. Like, we could play acoustic guitar sessions, we could play rock sessions. I had a metal band, I could do hip hop, whatever. So in this field, like in this music field, this is where I just learned to communicate from musician to musician. Later, when I switched to producer and when I got older, it felt a bit different, and I was very insecure for a long time. I'm in a van, I have some mic I bought on eBay for $100, and I don't have this studio, I don't have this compressor, and then I got all these informations from outside, and I became very silent in a way. And then I had a couple of experiences in LA where I started to become extroverted and talked with everybody. And then I broke some unwritten rules and how could the assistant talk with the chef and blah, blah, blah. And it left a mark because it left insecurity in me. And it took a while to come back to this. And through this insecurity, I thought I just have to work now. I have to be like them. And I can't even talk about having vacation or whatever, like I became like this, where I didn't know with who can I say what and who will say what to somebody and how will they flip my words in their, I had also, some bad experiences where people stole credits and whatever. So this shut me down a bit. But, coming after a point of, where a breakup is waiting after 13 years of a relationship, because I was just in this, I have to work. This was one of many reasons, where I lost myself. I said, the first thing I have to do is find back to myself because I don't want to live like this anymore. So your question is good because I had it, I lost it, and I found back to it. And now I have no doubts. Yeah. Now there are no doubts anymore. And this is great.
Wow. Yeah. What would you say to someone who, and I think that was also on your list, Manel, actually, the follow-up question would basically be, what would you say to someone who is just not naturally an extrovert, but they might be a great person, a great engineer, great mixer, and actually cool to hang around with, but they just have a hard time approaching people? There's always a way for anybody to make it work, and it will always involve some kind of work, of course, but have you ever met people that you worked with who were successful but were kind of the opposite of they were not outgoing, they were introverted? I mean, it's to me it's almost like the norm in our industry for most people that they are cave dwellers, cave creatures, and not really go outside, not really open and extroverted, but still might be good people. So what are your thoughts on that?
It's wonderful because these people are professionals in what they do, and there will be artists who come to a mix session and they don't want to talk about everything that happens around. They just want somebody who loves the compressor and who is married to the EQ and just want to talk about it and just is into their own world, It doesn't, because sometimes we try to label like good or bad, or this is beneficial and this is not beneficial. But we are all interested and in love with music. This is what brings us and makes us waking up every day. And there is definitely, I think I even think it's even better to be a bit more introvert.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How so?
Yeah, because sometimes I scare off clients because I talk so much and they're like, what's with that guy? I just need the engineer.
I get it. But in terms of promoting yourself, that is the part that seems to be harder for the introverted folks because they might not like to be on camera, they might not like to do social media, they might not like to go out to shows and talk to people. But you got to do something because without having, it all starts with a conversation always, and without having any sort of interaction and conversation, it's going to be super hard to let people know that you exist and and that you are actually good at what you do. So that is always something where I don't know if you have an answer to it. I usually don't really, or my only answer is that you gotta somehow get over that fear and just find one way of doing it that is the least scary to you. Maybe there's one kind of medium that you feel comfortable with. Maybe you hate the camera, but you could do a podcast because a microphone is okay. Maybe you hate social media if you have to make videos. Maybe you can just write your content and go on Threads or Facebook or Twitter and write short stuff. Maybe you should do a newsletter. Maybe you can hand out share flyers or something. But I guess that there's a medium for almost everybody that is at least the least scary, and then you should just go in and double down on that. That's kind of my advice always, because you got to do something, and some sort of communication is required because at the end of the day we're working with people, I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that, but I think it makes it maybe less scary if you just pick one thing that you think is doable and then just go all in, learn everything about it and just do that.
Absolutely. And I love the advices that you gave already. Yeah, maybe hire a photographer and just put photos. This would be one thing. Make a blog post. Find something that you love, what drives you in audio that you want to share, that you don't have to talk with people. Of course, basic communication skills. You can make a course, for example. For sure, there will be a coach who basic communication because this has also a reason. Yeah. So maybe you can find the block with a coach. Or
That's exactly what I hoped you would say, because the thing that, I mean, so glad you said it. Thank you for that. The thing is, if the one thing you got to get rid of, I think, is this fixed mindset of like, I am born this way, so I can never change. Like, that's the one thing I think you got to get rid of, because just because you now consider yourself an introvert, that doesn't mean you cannot change this. Like, you can take control over the situation and at least improve a little bit, get help with coaching, therapy, whatever, reading, doing one little step at a time, and you don't have to just, surrender and accept that it's going to be like that for the rest of your life. Like, you can definitely improve. And I think we all did. Like, if you listen to the first episode of this podcast, like, I was a different podcast host back then, and like, it's like you can learn things like that. And so I hope that's encouraging to some people. You don't have to accept that you will never be able to do this.
Absolutely. And this is the beauty on our job, because we always grow, because we are working with very interesting people and with life stories, and they trust us these stories, and we learn constantly. Plus, when you're a freelancer, the business side doesn't require you knowing what the compressor is, like the fun part. I say it always like it's the fun part. For me, the business side is also very creative and fun.
Yes.
But I had to learn it. Yeah, and I had a business coach, and she helped me absolutely to find my blockades and then push a bit, because there was a reason that I couldn't charge what I charge. There was a reason there's also a reason that I made a free project. Yeah, of course it came from the heart, but also maybe there was a deeper reason, And of course this experience doesn't have a monetary value to travel for 4 or 5 years around the world and experience all of this. Still, I had to grow also, and we all have to grow to really move something. We have to be actually constantly in movement.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, totally. I love that. And movement doesn't mean travel for everybody, but movement in the sense that we evolve as humans, that we change constantly. In fact, the Ady that's sitting right there right now has nothing to do with the Ady from 5 years ago. It's like an entirely different human. Like, every cell in your body has like changed since then, right? And so it's like, we're constantly being reborn. We can constantly change, and we should evolve, I think.
Absolutely. That's the beauty.
Yeah. So going back to the traveling and nomad thing, Manel, you had some wonderful questions there on your list as well. Let's transition to the book actually and the audio part, because we're going to come back to business in some way, I think, because it's just a fascinating topic. And I wanted to make this about this because I love your mindset about this. I love how you make it accessible and actually fun, and not this like salesy, weird, thing. But because business is a fun, creative game, and its goal is to create win-win-win scenarios, ideally, for everyone. And it's not to take advantage of someone or whatever. And your mindset of approaching that is just awesome. And I wanted to make this episode for artists and producers who struggle with that. But now let's transition to the actual audio thing and the traveling. And I saw on your list, Manel, you have some amazing questions there as well.
Yeah. So the first one is how your very first Sahara session shaped your vision to recording.
Wow. Our very first session was the band Dara Tribes. The full story is also in the book, how we met them and the idea behind, but we found them just by following people's advice, literally like, oh, where can they be? Oh, maybe in this city, just drive another 100 kilometers and ask there. And after a while, we found the band Dara Tribes. It's a beautiful band currently on tour in the UK. And I think they come to Poland very soon. So if you have the chance, check them out live. We started to connect via a jam session. Like, we drove just behind them to the last house before the big Sahara Desert starts. They got out their instruments, plugged them in, and we start jamming. In my book are also behind the scenes material. There are like private videos and photos. So the jam session, I found it last week and could upload it into the folder, was stunning. And the next day, so we built a trust, and I understood. This is the beauty. They trust me now. Yeah. Through the music creation process. Like, oh, okay, this guy is cool. Let's make 2 videos together. So in the very first song that we recorded, we had the djembe player who was singing at the same time. And I recorded everything live. So I used the figure 8 microphone technique to capture the room sound. and then in a way try to position them so that the sounds come already perfectly level matched into the figure 8 mic. So when I just needed a closer microphone, like a closer sound, I could just put up the close mics for more definition. But the main sound was already in the room mic. And this was, for me, revolutionary, because we spent hours of, now in solo, the kick is perfect. Now in solo, the snare is perfect. Now in solo, the overheads are perfect. Like soloing every instrument, clean up everything, and then try to put it all together again, that it sounds like one unit. There I had the whole unit already in 2 mics. And if I needed more, I just put some faders. So mixing time went down to 2 hours, It's crazy. So this session really helped me to understand phasing issues, bleed, how microphone bleed can add up actually when used in the right way. And I understood how important it is to have a diverse mic locker with a couple of condenser mics, mainly dynamic microphones. I had one ribbon that I didn't use there, and I had one tube mic that later became just a room mic, if even, because it captured too much of the sound. Like a scooter drove by and you hear the scooter, they were too good for the sessions.
Yeah.
Communication. So
As the neighbor chopping onions, you mentioned that at some point. Yeah. you don't want him on the record, right?
We have one. I think there is a because the book comes with multi-tracks. So when you listen to some multi-tracks closely, you will hear how our friend Aymat Kachina is preparing a tagine and chopping onions like during the solo. So don't use too much compression.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's
so
great.
It's safe to say that it taught you what's really, I think, the most important thing about audio is it's like phase, positioning musicians in the room, not just mic positioning, but actually positioning the instruments and the musicians in the room, how to handle bleed and deal with that. And like, it's more of a big picture and get it right at the source kind of approach. And I think that's always going to be beneficial, even in a controlled recording studio. So I think you learned that the hard way, basically, because you had to make it work like that. But I guess it's been really beneficial afterwards too for you.
Absolutely, yeah. And I had to learn way deeper things, for example, that the musicians have to see each other. They have to see each other because this is how they work. Yeah, this is where the energy comes from. When I positioned them wrongly, and for example, the guitar player couldn't see the bassist, you could feel that something happened with the groove. The rhythm guitar and the bass, they have to lock in like crazy. This is like the heartbeat, including the percussion. And and to your question, just the last lesson that I learned was the dynamic of instruments. So the vocalist had actually the loudest percussion instrument, which is called the djembe. And it's a goblet-shaped drum that you play with your hands, for people who don't know what the djembe is. And it's very loud. Like, they used it in Africa to communicate from village to village. I have one here and I can't play it because then the neighbors will come immediately and say, what is wrong with you? But then I had all this djembe sound in the vocal mic. So what I learned through this session, because I spent hours and night shifts to try to get the djembe sound a bit out of the vocal mic, it shaped the next sessions to make it easier. So I just recorded the rhythm sections together and then overdubbed the main vocals. And this was, for example, a huge lesson to have like really clean vocals and the rest still have to lock in for the ultimate groove. So it always refined every session. I hope this answered your question.
Yeah. One more question. Do you have any sort of process to decide the spots for every musician in the room? Like, do you go around the room, I don't know, clapping, or like, do you have any sort of process?
Going into the room. And it's a fantastic question, because this is for me the most interesting part in being a mobile recording producer. Every room is different, and actually the room shapes the sound. Yeah. When I'm recording percussive element, it's the room sound where really the mid-range is and the lower mids, for example. Like, I have the close mics. For example, when I have a djembe on top, I have a top mic that is very bright, and then I have a low-end mic that's very low with some lower mids. But where's the rest? It needs to open up in the room. So when I'm in the room, I check out the band and see how dynamic are the instruments to each other. For example, we had one session with a band called Isuran and Sahara, and they played an instrument called the calabash, which you find in Mali. It looks like a half pumpkin, and you hit it with the fist. So there is a lot of low-end information, but it's not as loud as the top end from the djembe. So I try to separate them inside the room as much as possible away from each other, and try to position the mics to cancel out each other as much as possible. But then this bleed adds up again when I blend the instruments together. So this is something I really take care of, like how are the dynamics? The same with the vocals and the djembe, yeah? And when it's way too crazy, I have to do it separately and overdub it. But this is very important, so that the room mics don't have one element that is way too loud. Then the room mic becomes useless.
Mm-hmm. But back to Manel's question, because I know why you're asking the clap thing, do you figure out also where in the room the instruments sound the best? Because I actually do something like that. If I go into a new recording studio and I track drums there, for example, I will do what some people call like the floor tom trick or whatever, where I grab a floor tom and I hold it and I walk around the room hitting the floor tom, because I want to listen to where in the room is the low end, like like really boomy and maybe too much. Where is it canceling out and not there entirely? Where is it like the perfect balance? So you're going to hear it with a low-end heavy instrument like that. You're going to hear that the bass response is completely different in different parts of the room. And that's how I make a decision as to where to set up the drum kit. Do you do a similar thing? Or does it matter mostly to you that the band is comfortable and that they see each other? Or do you actually check out the room itself where things sound good?
Yeah, brilliant question. Brilliant.
I think that's what you meant, Manel, with the clapping, right? Figuring out the room, sort of. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought so.
Often I don't have much choices, so I rather check what I avoid, and these are usually corners for low-end instruments. Corners have the most nasty reflections. I did once a mistake where I put a guitar amp in the corner, and the reflections were terrible. It was really useless later. I couldn't even fix it with EQ. Yeah. So this is something I avoid. But often during the sessions, we had to check that the camera can see everybody. So the mic position also had to suffer a bit, depending on the camera, of the camera angle. And
are these always video sessions, just for context?
No.
Is the video always important with those kinds of things?
No. At the beginning it was, but now I had also, there is one session we had in Albania, so we rented a villa that I haven't seen before, and we had very dynamic instruments. We had the African djembe master, an accordion, and the acoustic guitar, all in one room that is not supposed to be a studio with tiles. So what I did the clapping test, and I let them play together, and I figured out that one part of the room have a higher ceiling than the rest. Yeah, it was almost like a little tower. So I knew when the djembe plays there, it will be nasty reflections, because it's like ping pong. It's like a ping pong going back and forth, and it sounds way too amplified for what we need. So I knew I can put the acoustic guitar and accordion in opposite of each other in the tower, and they benefited from the sound because there was a bit more reverb. While the percussionist, so that he can still see them, I put them as far as possible at the end of the room, so that they still have eye contact, but he's as far away as possible from them. So there it really helped to clap around and test, because we also didn't need the camera, and I could just position them. And at first I tried percussion under the tower, accordion there. No, crazy percussion sound. Let's switch them. Okay, goes better. What happens when the two acoustic guitars are there? When the acoustic guitar is here and the accordion and the percussion there. So it was a little trial and error until we had the right sound.
All right. Interesting. I mean, this is so interesting because these principles, just so people know, they don't just apply to world music and like these kinds of genres and these instruments. It's the same thing when you record like a singer-songwriter, guitar and vocals. You got to deal with the same things. You got to have, if the person's playing and singing at the same time, which often happens, you got to have bleed in both of the mics, like guitar and the vocal mic and vice versa. It's going to matter where in the room the person is playing and what's surrounding them, the walls, the surfaces, all of that, whether or not you add room mics and how close you go with the mic. Like all of these things matter. It's the same with every acoustic instrument. So this is not just for world music in Albania. This could be a rock band in a studio, singer-songwriter, whatever. These principles are just important to learn. And it's also so cool because the way you describe it, it means it's not you're not guessing or hoping for the best. You're going at it like systematically. You think about, you got to have some of the basic knowledge, of course, but you just use your ears and your and logic to like figure out where do things sound good and why. If something doesn't sound good, why is that? What can I change about it? Can I increase the distance? Can I move somewhere else? Can I use a different mic? It's a very systematic approach, and it's awesome because a lot of people tell me, well, I don't really know what I'm doing. I just put a mic somewhere and hope for the best, basically. But you can, with very simple techniques, actually take control over the situation. And as you do that, you'll learn so much, and it's going to get better from session to session. And I like that being intentional about it, because these days so many people don't do this anymore. We just did an entire episode on that where everyone records like flat, boring tracks. They just put a mic somewhere, plug it into the interface and go, and they don't even think about where they are in the room, where they put the mic, which mic they choose, and all those things. And then you have to deal with whatever you recorded, and it's most of the time not really intentional and also not exciting. And your approach is the exact opposite. If you record with that kind of approach, I bet if you just put the fader up after recording, it will already sound pretty much like the band and what you wanted to capture, right? So
exactly. I want to listen to the episode because this is something I think a lot about, the intention between what we are doing. I figured out often people ask for advice, like how something sounds inside their family, like not people who work with audio. They're like, yo, listen to this guitar. Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, but what does sound good? This is always the big question. Yeah, we can, of course, drive ourselves crazy with this question. Do I have the perfect sound? But at least to work intentional and try out these microphones. It's also everything that I covered in my book, in a way, how I positioned the bands in the specific room and how to test your microphones. When I had my first mics, I couldn't stop moving through the room and trying out. And I had like a small xylophone and I wanted to hear like, how does it sound when I close the door and have the mic behind the door? How does it sound when I record from up there or from the side? Or how does it sound when I have now two microphones? And with the time my mic locker grew, I combined microphones and I tested microphones and I understood after a while, this is the mic pattern. This is mic patterns. So important. Yeah. So important. Do you want more of the room sound? Do I need the Omni microphone? Or maybe I don't like the room sound. It's not beneficial for this recording right now. So maybe I put a hypercardioid that is really narrow in the back. Maybe I go closer to the acoustic guitar to have more of the string noise. Maybe I need it intimate or more dramatic or brighter. Or I just need the full body of the acoustic guitar so I can put the mic a bit away.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect moment for the next question, which is, then how do you balance these crazy ideas you have for recording with basic fundamental things?
I use microphones as equalizers. And this is a lesson I learned for a long time ago. I worked with a Portuguese artist. He was one of the first people who trusted me in Poland and said, yeah, you're going to make my record. And we rented like these noisy rooms at night. For the half price, I made a good deal. So we had basically 3 rooms for 6 hours, but just overnight. And we recorded bass. So I split the signal, had the bass amp in 2 rooms. And every room had 1 bass amp, put 2 mics on every bass amp, put 2 room mics, and the DI signal, and send it to the producer to Portugal. And he freaked out. He's like, what the heck? It's just a bass. Come on, guys.
It's just the bass.
Yeah. And I was amateur, I tried to impress my client and he had a lot of fun. He's like, whoa, look what Ady is doing. He's like putting 8 mics on the bass.
Holy shit.
But the producer, he said, he gave me a really good nugget because we tried. He said, if you have more mics, they should sound different.
Yeah.
So one for the real low end, one maybe for gnarly top end, whatever you want, but not like you sent me 5 times the same sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always go back to these fundamentals when recording. The fundamentals is actually really what guides every single session, but there is creativity inside these fundamentals. And with ever-changing rooms, it spices up my life. It's fantastic.
Yeah. You got to know the rules so that you can break them intentionally is kind of a way I like to think about it. The more I know the fundamentals and the quote-unquote best practices, rules, whatever, the more I can have fun and be creative and break them if I want to. And it's like, and then it's not a mistake. It's like I can do that, and be intentional about it. And so... yeah, I love the thing about the different mics having to sound different. That's a good piece of advice. For example, if you record a guitar cab, where oftentimes people will put more than one mic on a guitar cab, if you do that, I like to also... I see a lot of people pick a darker and a brighter mic, for example. But what they do is often they put the dark mic in the bright spot and the bright mic in the dark spot to like compensate or whatever. Mm-hmm. The end result is going to be that the two mics are going to end up pretty similar again. I like to do the opposite. I like to put a bright mic at the center of the speaker where it's going to be really bright, and a dark mic on the outside of the speaker where it's going to be really dark. So I get very different things that I can blend together where my faders become EQ. And the nice side effect of doing that, by the way, is the less or the more different the mics are, or the recordings of the mics, the less you're going to run into phase issues because they'll have less in common. The closer they are in sound, the more accurate they need to be because there'll be more phasing. And if they are completely different sounds, you're going to have a better time with the phase as well. So if you're going to use more mics, have a reason for that and don't just put the same thing like 5 times, like you said. So are you one of those people, like we mentioned that in a recent episode too, where because Manel asked about the balance between crazy things and fundamentals, do you do like one new thing every session or some rule that you have for yourself? Because that's something I really like. I think Ulf, who you also know, Ulf Blomberg, he mentioned that on his interview as well. And I like to do that too. Like on every mix that I do, I like to bring in one completely new plugin that I've never used, or I like to use a technique that I've never done before. Just I do the tried and true stuff that is fast and proven, but I want to add one new thing just so I can improve and develop and, stay creative. Do you do something like that on purpose?
Oh, yeah. I mean, by definition, with changing rooms, it was always a completely new situation. Yeah. Like, where did I ended up right now? Like, how to make the best out of it. So this kept the creativity going. And I love that you guys do it because our job, of course, is technical. But there is a lot of creativity inside this technical framework. And I do it. Like now I stopped buying new plugins for a while now because I have what I need. But I used now some new mixing techniques that I learned. I bought a course again after such a long time. Mm-hmm. And now I'm trying out, it's called Mixer Brain from Jeff Ellis. Mm-hmm. And I love the way how he's mixing. And the techniques that he shared, to for example, ignore mono mixes completely because we don't have any mono devices anymore. So he's like, go crazy with putting things outside the speakers. So this is something I'm experimenting with right now and have a lot of fun with actually.
Yeah. Which I know his material and it's great, but that part I actually don't really agree with just because, I also don't care about mono as much. The vast majority is stereo. And so I've always prioritized stereo, of course. However, people still use Bluetooth speakers quite a bit and some phones are still mono. And like, it's not that there are no mono devices anymore. So do with that information what you want, but they are there.
Absolutely.
And I've heard a lot of mixes in our coaching too, where people do stuff where if somebody played that on a simple Bluetooth speaker, some part of the information would be gone. So
and it can happen, and it will happen when doing this. This is why I say I experiment with that. But what, for example, helped, like a technique that I use now very often is to keep the middle more free, like the middle information for the vocals. Yeah. For example, when I have something like shakers, percussive elements, more on the top, I used, for example, last time Soundtoys Microshift, and it's almost like going out of the middle, and it sounds a little bit phasey, but at the end you don't really hear it. And
I know what you mean.
Really opens up. Like I had often, the shaker is clashing with the top end of the vocals. So these are things that might not impact your overall mix too dramatically. But yeah, it can happen that when you, for example, there was a technique, hard pan left, hard pan right, and flip the face of one of these things, like a keyboard. Wow. Good luck on the phone.
It's crazy on stereo, and you can absolutely do these things. It's a lot of fun, but on mono it will disappear, right?
Absolutely, it disappears immediately.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Interesting, cool. So you're still learning, you're still developing, you're still taking in new information, and I think that's just a thing that should never stop. I hope we all keep learning always, our entire lives. So
yeah, that's the beauty of our job.
Yeah, totally. So all these lessons, learnings from your travels as the audio nomad, which is the title of your book, like all of that would be in your book, I guess, or like the most important parts of it. I'm not done reading it yet. I'm like halfway through, and I love it so far.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I had the honor of writing a part of the foreword, also a couple of words. So if you get that book, you're going to see that in there too. And I think the story, how we met at the podcast, and all that is in the book. So I love the book. I love a lot of the, like, it's the same thing. I've been doing this for so long, and I like to think of myself that I know a lot of, like, most of the fundamentals and the technical stuff. I've been very nerdy about this, so I'm knowledgeable. But then I read a book like this, and there's always something that I learned that I like haven't thought about it like that, or haven't heard it before, or like I'm reading and I'm like, I should try that next time. That's cool, you know. So and it's that's why I think books like that, courses, whatever, as long as it's from someone who knows what they're doing, it's always a good investment. It's every time I bought a book or I bought a course or I did anything like that, like the damn fly again in my face.
Oh no.
Every time I did that, I got a return out of it because I'm just open to new ideas. And that's as long as you approach it with that kind of mindset and you're open to trying something new, it's never a bad idea to do that. So I would highly recommend you get Ady's book. You're going to learn something from it. Definitely. The whole mindset shift that can happen if you read from someone like Ady, if you surround yourself with people like Ady, is like, it has an impact on your life. It did on mine, even though we only met a couple times, but every time we do, I feel better afterwards. So I really have to say that. And I feel the same way after reading your book. And so I highly recommend you getting this. Even if you're not into world music or whatever, it is still an amazing, fantastic read. So congrats on the book release, Ady. And I highly recommend people get this.
Wow, this means so much to me, because there is like, well, thank you for your kind words. And I feel also always inspired when we write, when we meet, when we hang out. And you know, your questions are always amazing. They are really spot on. And I feel inspired after the podcast, even once we have interviews, or it's wonderful. And it makes me think, stop and think also. And to hear these words, I mean, it's like almost 2 years of work that we put in there, 1.5 to 2 years. And the last few months, as I said, my girlfriend helped me with the editing. So we were editing together. She was 20 pages ahead and I was editing behind her. Once it was done, we did it again. And at the end, it was over 28 edits and a lot of sleepless nights. So I really appreciate if somebody takes the time reading the story. And for now, I just heard incredible feedback that for me, it's almost surreal because it's just a week out now. Mm-hmm. And it just have to arrive in my body that it really happened, because I'm still in action mode, you know, to make readings here. We are making a book reading party on my terrace also. I think it will be live streamed. We are still working on that. And man, let me know at the end how you like it and if you have any questions. And yeah, there's a lot of love in the book.
Yeah, there is. Like, where can people get it? I mean, it's on Amazon, it's on the, wherever you get books probably, but is there a certain link that we should point people to where they can look it up or buy it, or like?
Absolutely. So we created a page called, and it's very long.
It's always a good thing if it's so long that you...
It's so long. It's audionomad.hittheroadmusicstudio.com. But maybe you can put the link there.
I can put the link in the show notes below this video and the podcast show notes and all that. So yeah.
So there is a direct link to the book. And I think there is a mixing tutorial for free for a short time. I think it got off, but what we're going to do, and I tried to make it today with my team, to reset the free course thanks to the Self-Recording Band podcast.
Oh,
We're going to put it
thank
there.
you.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're going to make it another week so people can download the free course, how I mixed one of these sessions. So you can see my approach also. And it's like a guide to the book. And I don't want it to make the book boring. So you have also exercises there to feel African music, at least a bit, to listen. Like there are playlists created, of course, with our videos and videos to the instruments I'm describing and videos to the styles I describe. So you can just find new music and get a quick intro into the music of Morocco and the culture. And there are over 30 sets of multi-tracks from the sessions, because I think by just reading a book, of course, we get something out of it, but it's beautiful to just put the hands-on experience or at least listen how such a session could sound like. Because, and this is one thing, it really gave me thoughts. So I can download a lot of multi-track sessions from professional studios, which I love. Nevertheless, I didn't have access to these studios and thought often, oh my God, this what I created here in this rehearsal room, it absolutely sucks. Like it's bad. So you will get the insight into these not professional record studio sessions to just compare and see like, okay, and you have the final mix also to most of the sessions. So you can compare how these multi-tracks, how they can end up. So I really hope that you have hands-on experience through it and really learn to work with what you have.
Yeah, man, I love this approach. It's fun fact is like our courses that we have are all intentionally based on like real self-recorded sessions from bands that we then mix and turn into something amazing, or help the band turn into something amazing. It's not just our thing, but
I love
we
that.
did it because of that. Because it's not a realistic scenario. Like if you learn with tracks that have been recorded by the best people with the best gear and the best rooms in the world, that does not necessarily apply to what you're doing in your jam space. So I think it's much more valuable to have real life, real world scenarios, and then learn from your approach how to deal with that on the recording, but then also in the mix. So I love that. That's much more relatable to our audience as well.
Man, I love that we met, because I see we have so many similarities, the way we think, the way we love to show people and educate people and share our experiences with others, like really from human to human on an honest basis. This is beautiful.
Yeah, same to you, man. Like it's I really love this connection. Yeah, so I'm going to put the links to all of that in the show notes. And I recommend people get this book. And I hope to see you back on the show one day, man. Or like maybe we can do another, I don't know, let's think about things. Maybe we can do another guest workshop in our coaching community or something. I'm sure we will collaborate in some way, shape, or form. I want to visit you in Barcelona at some point, and I wish you just all the success in the world and a fantastic time in Barcelona. Who knows for how long you're going to stay there, but like, for now, stay there, enjoy life, enjoy your job, and especially your relationships, your partner and all that. So I'm just really happy for you. Happy to hear that all these things have happened to you in the past year. You've deserved it. You've worked hard for it, and I'm beyond happy for you. So, congrats.
Thank you so much. You're always welcome. This is your house. Like I have a place here for you. You can stay here. Same to you, Manel. Just come over. Take the train. And
thank you.
You're always welcome here. Thank you, and thank you for all the work you do for editing the podcast, and now also thank you for being part of the book, co-creating it. Because it's not just my book, it's our book. Everybody who was involved in it and put work into it and went to these record sessions. And I'm just beyond grateful. Thank you. Audio Nomad, recording 2 years in Morocco. This is how you find it. Make sure to buy it on your Amazon from your country. Don't order it from Amazon US, because then you get a lot of shipping costs. It's now on Amazon worldwide, Amazon Germany, Amazon Poland, where we hit bestseller, which is crazy. And just take care of this to avoid unnecessary big costs.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you, Manel, as well, as always, for being here and for asking these great questions. We didn't get through all of them, but there might be another one. Who knows? Like, there's lots to talk about with Ady. And also you can ask in person, of course. And if you have any follow-up questions for Ady, please let us know. Comment below on YouTube, send us an email. All those things are in the show notes. Thank you, as always, for watching and listening. And I'll talk to you next week on this podcast. Bye.
Ciao.
Goodbye.